In the dense forest of central India, a war is being waged. One that really makes headlines. And is fought not just with guns, but with policies, prisons, and silence. It is a war against India's most marginalized, the Adivasis. In early 2025 alone, security forces killed over 200 alleged Maoists.
21 मार्च 2026 को
What lies behind these killings? Who benefits from the violence? And why should you be concerned?
इस देश से नक्सलवाद समाप्त।
During a search operation on January 1st, 2024, in Mudvendi, a police bullet struck a 6-month-old baby girl, Mongli Sori, as her mother was feeding her, killing her instantly. On April 2nd, 2024, Kamli, a 12-year-old deaf and mute girl, was taken by the police and shot multiple times. Authorities later falsely claimed that she died in an encounter with Maoists. These are among the few reports that managed to emerge from the deep interiors of Chhattisgarh since the start of Operation Kagar.
जब से ऑपरेशन कागार शुरू हुआ है, पूरा काउंटर इंसर्जेंसी ज्यादा इंटेंसिफाई हो गया है और 400 से अधिक लोग मारे गए हैं। पूरा समय ही रोज ही हमें हत्या की ही बात हम सुनते रहते हैं।
Between January and July 2024 alone, 141 people were killed, but villagers claim many were civilians caught in staged encounters, not Maoists. This is just history repeating itself. In the name of making India Maoist-free, several welfare campaigns and military operations have been launched since the 90s, but never before have we seen such a large-scale assault on Adivasis.
40 गांव की लिस्ट आई है। वो ये कह रहे हैं जो 22 तारीख से लेके अभी तक जो युद्ध करते रहे, गोली चलाते गए, वहाँ इतनी बम बारूदी है, उससे 40 गांव वाले को आज के डेट में इतनी दिक्कतें हो रही है। वो लोग मोआ बीनने नहीं जा सक रहे हैं, तेंदुपत्ता तोड़ने नहीं जा सक रहे हैं, नदी नाला नहीं जा सक रहे हैं, वो अपने मूल कंद तोड़ने नहीं जा सक रहे हैं। आमचूर जो भी है, वो उनसे जो एक आजादी की जिंदगी है जंगलों में, वो नहीं जा पा।
In the first 5 months of 2025 alone, security forces in Chhattisgarh have killed 235 alleged Maoists, already surpassing the previous year's total. That's a sharp rise from just 23 killings reported in all of 2023. In these unreported territories, the state has become judge, jury, and executioner.
What is happening today in the country? Encounters have been intensified, and in the name of Naxal Mukt Bharat.
To understand Operation Kagar better, let's look at the bigger picture. What role does the Sangh Parivar play in it? A high-level brainstorming meeting, the Chintan Shivir, was held in Surajkund. It was attended by Home Ministers, Home Secretaries and paramilitary officers. The objective, to draft an action plan for the implementation of Vision 2047.
So after BJP has come to power in both the Chhattisgarh and center, the repression has tremendously increased. After BJP has come into power, it has developed a national action plan. So since then, there is a quality to live in states' way of dealing the states' counter-insurgency strategy.
Around the same time, an official RSS statement declared 2047 as the target year to realize the Hindu Rashtra. These are not mere coincidence.
हिंदुस्तान हिंदू राष्ट्र है, ये सत्य है.
The creation of a crony corporate Hindutva state isn't just an ideological or cultural project for the Sangh Parivar. It's a political, military and administrative strategy being executed by the BJP government.
BJP RSS combined they want to impose a monolithic, illiberal, socio-political order on the people and handing over all mineral-rich resources to the corporate houses.
The Ministry of Environment granted forest clearance to Lloyd Metals and Energy Limited for an iron ore beneficiation plant in Gadchiroli, Maharashtra. The approval allowed the diversion of 937 hectares of forest land and the felling of approximately 1.2 lakh trees. These happened just after DRG Jawans killed CPI Maoist General Secretary Nammala Kesav Rao, alias Basav Raju. Coincidence? While the state wages war on the revolutionaries, a quieter force advances, the Maoists.
We have to understand the last 10 years that we have seen, and even before that also, the emphasis of the state in especially the mineral-rich forest areas where the tribals are the majority. In those areas, how repressive measures have been taken up, from the Salva Judum to the Green Hunt and even the present Operation Kagar.
In the name of development, vast mineral-rich lands are being handed to corporations. From 2003 to 2021, Chhattisgarh signed over 370 MOUs worth more than 18 lakh crore. Roads, railways and paramilitary camps followed. The goal? Secure extraction zones. Chhattisgarh fuels India's growth, rich in coal, iron, tin, steel and now rare earth materials. Its mines generate over 30,000 crore each year. Yet, the state ranks 26 out of 28 on the Human Development Index. Half its children don't survive past the age of 5. Only a third of homes have clean drinking water. While 47.9% of Chhattisgarh's population lives below the poverty line, the wealth under their land is carried away by the wagons of profit houses.
मेरे आदिवासी का जल जंगल का क्या, मेरे आदिवासी का मुल्क का तोड़ने जाने के लिए आज इतना खतरा रहे, उसका क्या? वो तो भूखे मरने के लिए मजबूर हो रहे हैं। प्यास को पानी पीने लगे, प्यास लग रहा है तो पानी लेने जाने के लिए डर रहे हैं। ना उनके पास बोर है, ना उनके पास शिक्षा है, ना उनके पास स्कूल है, ना उनके पास अस्पताल है।
बस्तर में ये सभी कुछ जो हो रहा है माओवादियों के नाम पर हो रहा है, मगर ये कॉर्पोरेट्स के हित में हो रहा है। इसके पीछे करोड़ों के पैसे का खेल चल रहा है।
Laws designed to protect indigenous rights are being systematically undermined.
Schedule 5 promises the tribals of this country that their state, if it wants to enter, although eminent domain they retain, but the state will enter the tribal areas after taking the consent of the tribals.
But to avoid legal hurdles, the state blatantly manipulates these laws. Though several protections exist, Gram Sabhas are almost never consulted, and their objections are routinely ignored. Even government bodies have found irregularities in obtaining Gram Sabha clearances. To avoid legal battles, the Ministry of Environment amended the forest conservation rules, allowing forest land diversion for security infrastructure without requiring Gram Sabha consent. This is not a new strategy for the BJP. In 2014, the Supreme Court cancelled over 200 coal blocks allocations made between 1993 and 2011, calling them illegal. In response, the Coal Mines Special Provisions Act was passed, opening up commercial coal mining to private players for the first time since the 1970s. Further, in 2023, acts were amended to introduce exploration licenses. These legal shifts have enabled the widespread transfer of mining rights to private firms, which makes it clear as daylight. This is a government by the corporates, for the corporates.
The actual intention of the government is to open the doors for the corporates to loot the Jal Jangal Zameen and also the mineral resources of our country.
Since 1947, no community in India has faced more displacement than the Adivasis. Over 6 crore people have been displaced due to development projects. And though they are just 8% of India's population, Adivasis constitute nearly 14% of those displaced. In the name of fighting Maoists, the Moolvasis of Bastar are battered with eviction and violence. Nowhere was this more evident than during Salwa Judum.
The Salwa Judum goons were completely aided and abetted by the state police and central paramilitary forces, and they started attacking the villages, Adivasi villages, and at that time nearly 300-400 or more than 300-400 villages were burnt and lakhs of people were displaced. Many of them were kept in state-led camps within Bastar, and many migrated into neighboring Telangana also.
In the last 20 years, more than 800 complaints have been submitted to the Apex Court, none of which resulted into compensation. Ironically, security camps are now being rebranded as integrated development centers, consolidating schools, hospitals, and ration distribution within heavily guarded enclosures branded as Manwa Navun Nar. This is life under an open-air prison.
So in that Mad area, for every 3 Adivasis there is 1 police person. You can imagine how the Adivasis are leading life there.
Nandraj, Raughat, and Bailadila are not just hills. They are sacred to the Adivasi communities. But now, these hills are surrounded by camps and drilled for minerals. These mining operations not only cause massive ecological destruction, they dismantle the Adivasi way of life and livelihood, which is deeply connected to the forest and hills. In Chhattisgarh's Hasdeo, once declared a no-go zone for mining, clearances were granted to the Adani Group. Nearly 1.5 lakh trees have been cut to clear 762 hectares of this forest. Another 2.5 lakh may follow for the next coal block.
In that Mad area, now army has trying to take over 54,000 hectares of forest in the name of maneuvering. So between Sonpur and Garpa villages, the army is trying to take 54,543 hectares. So the collector is issuing notices to the Adivasis residing there to vacate those places and hand it over to the government.
A systematic erasure of people, rights, and forests, all under the banner of making India Nakshal Mukt. Operation Kagar is the latest push to establish a corporate Hindu Rashtra, the Sangh Parivar's ultimate goal.
क्यों एक से एक अभियान चला रही है? कभी बोल रही है नक्सल मुक्त गांव बनाएंगे, नक्सल मुक्त बस्तर बनाएंगे. अरे भाई, मेरे को तो यही लग रहा है कोई नक्सल मुक्त वाली बस्तर नहीं बनाना है. आदिवासी मुक्त बस्तर इन लोग बनाए, क्योंकि आदिवासी नहीं रहना चाहते, उन लोग आदिवासी को रखना ही नहीं चाहते.
The Indian state has crossed a chilling new threshold. It is now conducting aerial bombings on its own people. At least 5 drone strikes have been reported on Adivasi villages since 2021.
कि वाकई में हवाई हमला हुआ है.
On 13th January, aerial bombing took place in Bastar, and this was the 5th instance of aerial bombing. In Bastar, in central India, when this aerial bombing is done, they are completely denying it.
In India's long history of counter-insurgency, never before has the state bombed its own citizens. Operation Kagar isn't new. It's the latest chapter in a long-running war. It follows earlier campaigns like Jan Jagaran Abhiyan, Salwa Judum, Operation Green Hunt, and Samadhan Prahar. In 2011, the Supreme Court declared Salwa-Judum unconstitutional and ordered the disbanding of its SPO force. But within months, the state simply renamed it. By 2013, the District Reserve Guard was born. Same strategy, new batch.
Lakhs of CRPF personnel and not only CRPF, CIS, ITBP, Indo-Tibetan Border Police, who are to guard the Indo-Tibetan border, now they are deployed in Bastar. Sashastra Seema Bal, who are to be there in Nepal and India border, they are now in Bastar. So the Bastar is seen as though it is some enemical country.
Over 612 fortified police stations now dot Bastar, many on unsurveyed land. In Chhattisgarh, there is one armed personnel for every 9 civilians. Even the Indian Air Force, ISRO, NTRO are now involved in this operation. And now the war has gone high-tech. Forests are now monitored by Netra 3, Bharat drones, Israeli Heron UAVs, the same one used in Gaza conducting a genocide. This is not just militarization, it's a war without accountability.
सबसे ज्यादा तक जेला है हम आदिवासी ने जेला है, हमने खोया है, हमारी पूरी जमीन वो मतलब मिट्टी जमीन पूरा मतलब बारूद के ढेर पे चला गया, हर पेड़ में गोली, हर नाले में गोला बारूद और गोलियों का वो कितने लोग को हमने खोया है.
So what does living under seas actually look like? Whether going to the market, the school, the hospital, or simply fetching water, Adivasis are stopped and questioned by armed personnel. A security camp near the village does not mean safety. It means constant surveillance, restricted movement, and livelihoods under threat.
बस्तर के जो आदिवासियों की आज की स्थिति है कि वो ना ही शांति से जी पा रहे हैं, ना ही वो शांति से मर पा रहे हैं.
कोई मवा बीनने वाले, कोई धान काटने वाले, कोई जंगल घूमने वाले, कहीं भी कुछ भी हम लोग उठेंगे और शिकार घूमने वाले, कुछ भी जंगल झाड़ी घूमने वाले लोगों को जहाँ माल मिलता है वहाँ से मारते और गोली मारते होबरा तो और कुछ भी मिलने से उन लोग ऐसे करते रहे. इसी वजह से हम लोग विरोध है.
Fed up with atrocities, mass protest against security camps began in 2019 when locals demonstrated against a security camp in Potali, Dantewara. A year later, a massive protest erupted in Pakhanjur where 50 elected sarpanches resigned in opposition to new BSF camps. But it was the Silgar protest that drew national attention. In May 2021, a paramilitary camp was set up overnight. The next morning, protests began. 50,000 Adivasis marched to the Silgar camp peacefully. On the 5th day, CRPF forces opened fire, killing 3 people on the spot. A pregnant woman died in the stampede. 3 years later, the inquiry report remains buried. No one has been held accountable. Not a single family has received compensation.
Thing is this, that the government of India, despite many reports of the government itself, of independent bodies like the Planning Commission, where it was very clearly pointed out, even in 2006, that the government should not take a security-centric view, but it should take a view where the rights of the Adivasis are respected. Only then can you contain agrarian unrest.
Leaders from Chhattisgarh Bachao Andolan, Sarv Adivasi Samaj, Bastar Jam Sangharsh Samanvay Samiti, Madh Bachao Manch and others have been arrested or threatened with death. By 2024, key youth leaders like Sunita Potam and Raghu Miriani had been arrested. According to Ministry of Home Affairs, 6,804 arrests were made in Bastar region alone. Many civilians spent 2-3 years in jail under false Naxal charges. This is how the state responds to dissent, with bans, beatings and jail sets. But the double-engine government of Chhattisgarh praises itself as a benevolent state who wants to create opportunities for surrendered Maoists. Banners celebrating surrendered Maoists are plastered across villages under the state's Lawn Varatu campaign.
ऐसा वक्त आ गया है, बच्चे नहीं बच रहे, बच्चे की हत्या कर दी जा रही है, बूढ़े की हत्या कर दी जा रही है, और यह महिलाओं के साथ इतना वो करके उसकी मतलब बलात्कार किया जा रहा है। अब इंसानों को पत्थर खिलाया जा रहा है, जबरदस्ती सरेंडर किया जा रहा है। क्या बोल रहे हैं? कितने लोग को सरेंडर कर रहे हैं? या फिर तुम मरना चाहते हो, या जेल जाना चाहते हो, या बलात्कार करना चाहते हो, या मुखबरी बनना चाहते हो, क्या करना चाहते हो? बता, तो इंसान क्या करेगा?
But behind the posters lies a darker reality. Many who surrendered were never Maoists. Some were falsely accused, others named during police interrogations. Several say they were forced to surrender under the threat of arrest. The scheme has been marred by allegations, custodial deaths, pressured surrenders, and fund misappropriation.
ऐसा कैसा किसी महिला को थाना के अंदर बुला के नक्सली बना रहे हो, उसके बाद आप 500 समय पर चल रहे हो, ये कहाँ का नियम है? महिला तो अंगूठा चापे सर, वो बोले आपको क्यों बुलाए, बोले बुलाए साइन करो, बोले अंगूठा दबाए, टिप कुछ नहीं लिखा गया था, अभी टिप लिखा जा रहा है कि 2006 से नक्सली थी, इनको भी होश आ रहा है का 2006 का मैटर है, तो वही बोला जा रहा है। और महिला को बोला जा रहा है जाओ तीर लेके आओ, फोटो खिंचवाना है, ये क्या फोटो खिंचाने का सेशन है क्या?
In Dantewada, 20-year-old Pandey Kawasi took her own life after being tortured as a surrendered Maoist. Her mother says she was innocent. Villagers and informants are routinely labeled as Naxals just to meet surrender targets. And yet, media reports from 2021 reveal that only 3% of those who surrendered qualified for rehabilitation. With the government implementing the Naxalite Surrender Policy 2025, a new trend is emerging. More encounter deaths, fewer arrests.
This is also happening because the police are given monetary incentive to kill. If somebody is captured and killed, if already some reward is there and somehow is, then that reward is distributed among those forces who have participated in that action.
The surge in killings is not a coincidence, it's a policy monetized. The Indian state says it wants peace, yet continues to wage war. Since April 2025, CPI Maoist leaders have issued 5 statements calling for a ceasefire and peace talks. Civil society groups, academics, and even retired officials supported the appeal.
जब वहाँ माओइस्ट की तरफ से अगर यूनिलैटरल सीज फायर की बात आ रही है, तो फिर आप किस आधार पर आप उन पर कार्यवाही करते जा रहे हैं? पिछले 1 महीने से आप मुठभेड़ करते ही जा रहे हैं।
This is not new. Over the years, Maoist leaders have repeatedly expressed willingness for talks. From Azad's letter to Swami Agnivesh in 2010,
to our mind, makes out a very, very clear case, unmistakable case of cold-blooded murder and not a genuine police encounter.
To Rupesh, April 2025 appeal for a political resolution. Each time, the state either ignored the offer or responded with bullets. The BJP government treats this not as a socio-political issue but as a law and order problem.
Government should engage in dialogue with the concerned stakeholders. Dialogue is the way to find political solution.
So why is peace always off the table? Because war justifies surveillance, militarization, and the silencing of dissent. Not just in forests, but in cities too. So let's talk about why should you be concerned. Today, if we step back and look at the political landscape of the country, it becomes clear this is not just one operation. It's not just a war against Maoists. Under the Suraj Kund strategy, the Modi government has steadily eliminated political, intellectual, and cultural opposition, branding critics as urban Naxals or pen-building Naxals.
The new frontiers of war, what we call as the fourth generation warfare, is the civil society.
Writers, artists, activists, even students have been jailed under UAPA and anti-terror charges. The Bhima Koregaon case revealed the extent of the crackdown. Today, the state holds unchecked power. It can brand anyone, anything as a Maoist. And once branded, the killings become justified. This is not just repression, it's a dangerous trend, and it's accelerating. Through a tightly controlled media, the state manufactures public consent. The story is simple. Once India becomes Naxal-free, development will follow. We'll finally be a modern society. But behind that promise lies a deeper agenda. It's a distraction, a narrative to deflect from rising unemployment, inflation, poverty, and hunger. The war on Maoists becomes a war on the poor and a cover for economic failure. At the heart of it is the Sangh's vision of New India, a vision that demands total control of land, of language, of resistance. And on the ground, foot soldiers of the Sangh Parivar carry out this mission with impunity. Activists, journalists, students, farmers, Muslims, Dalits all face the same violence, the same erasure. And yet, we are told this is normal. But it should concern you. The grotesque celebration of security forces after killing fellow citizens should concern you. A war waged not for security but for corporate profit should concern you. A democracy where dissent is a crime should concern you. Operation Kagad is a warning. The war is no longer at the borders. It's inside. Waged not just with bullets, but with bulldozers, with laws, with surveillance, with silence. But as long as revolutionary movement exists, the vision of Sangh will remain incomplete.
प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी हमें मत मारो जीने दो हमें मत मारो जीने दो गृह मंत्री अमित शाह हमें मत मारो जीने दो हमें मत मारो जीने दो